I think those worlds absolutely connect. If you look at interactive media as a sort of performance art, there's a contract that gets struck with your audience where when you're performing for an audience, you're inviting them to listen, you're inviting them to experience, you're very much sharing a palette of emotions with them. And then in an interactive piece of media, you are pulling the player in, and your audience isn't just sharing that experience now, they are charting it for themselves to a certain extent. So there is a lot that audio does to kind of wrap itself around your audience and the people who are choosing to play this and kind of embark on this adventure with you. And audio is specifically tailored to tell a huge piece of the story. And when it's good, it's good. And when it's great, it is just absolutely knock your socks off, next level immersion into something. In my opinion, a successful soundscape is something that gives an extra limb to the narrative of whatever it is you're exploring. If it's a game, if it is an interactive story, audio at its best will bear an entirely new facet of the prism of whatever it is your player is engaging with. So the primary aim is to kind of dig a little bit deeper and find those pieces of the story that aren't entirely visible at first blush. It's those intrinsic emotions that sit a little bit further below the surface, and it's the themes that are maybe wound a little bit more tightly around each other, and you want to separate them just enough to kind of give your player or your reader the sense of, oh, wait a minute, that's what this is. It's finding the unexpected in the expected. If the sound is helping to tell the story on another level, then I would deem it successful. Adversely affected, that's a fun one. I think the obvious answer is horror media of any kind, where the aim of the game is to make the audience very uncomfortable and access that primal instinct of being terrified of something and being really, really bothered and unsettled. And a soundscape in that case, in being successful, will serve some really horrific feelings up on the audience. You have games like Silent Hill. You have movies like, obviously, Psycho is kind of the first blush of this, where the music is feeding you that dissonance and the horror of the knife coming in through the shower curtain. But in terms of being adversely affected, I think the most obvious turn of this, specific to performance, is the first thing that comes to mind, is if an audience isn't connecting. In my opinion, the highest regard that you can get from an audience is connection. And missing that connection with somebody is pretty devastating. And it's if somebody just doesn't get it, or they objectively think that it was done poorly, or it wasn't executed in a way that they expected, and that unexpectance is uncomfortable for them, that to me is something that I've fallen short on, and I would say that I did not do my job in that respect. So that would be an adverse effect, when the intent of the audio doesn't hit home in a way that matters. That to me is failure. So I think there's two layers of the physicality of sound. There is the physical, literal production of sound, which is sound waves pushing air particles into each other to make sound. And if you look at that principle and then take it another layer deeper, the physical act of hearing sound and perceiving sound is feeling it with your body. It's making the small bones in your ears move. It's making that fluid in your inner ear react. You know, when it gets loud enough at a concert venue or a dance club, something like that, you physically feel it in your chest, in your body, in your limbs. So to me, I think there is a very, very physical nature of sound, and to design and approach the production of sound without that at the back of your mind, you miss out on a very important facet of sound as a whole. Looking at that physicality of sound, you could even yank that one more layer down the rabbit hole, and that sensation of sound and feeling it and recognizing it as a sensation through your body, there is a feedback loop there where hearing is feeling and feeling is hearing, and depending on the sound, if there's a sound of a large enough magnitude, if it's a full orchestra, if it's an opera performance, if it's the crescendo of something, a bass drop at an EDM festival, anything that aligns that physical sensation of arrival with the emotional overflow of feeling like something has been approached and something has been achieved, and that mounting of feeling in your body coalesces into physical, mental, emotional, and everything just comes together in that moment of aha, you got it. I think that is nothing short of religious. There's something really beautiful to be shared in that moment of approach. This is a really fun question. I come from musical backgrounds. I come from chamber music, orchestral, vocal, opera, and have kind of fallen into the nuts and bolts of more general audio through that. And in perceiving sound is this great hum of the world churning together. It's impossible to separate living from making sound. Everything makes some sort of low hum, even the planets moving, the music of the spheres that's been around for millennia. But personally, I think there are a few things that encapsulate the nature of being more than those few moments of when an orchestra comes together all at once and tunes. You see the concertmaster stand, they give the A, and then the orchestra around them sort of melts into this blend of sensation. With that, you have the expectation, sort of the predestination of knowing that something beautiful is about to come out of this. You're about to get some sort of performance that has been perfectly orchestrated and rehearsed and built together. But that short moment of tuning when everything is possible and nothing is defined, I think is a pretty amazing distillation of what it means to exist.